All right, super excited. I'm Craig Ballantyne. I am your co-host for today, along with Daniel Woodrum. We are talking about the 4 Ps of scaling your business. Very, very excited to share this with you today. These are the 4 Ps that have unlocked a lot of growth for our clients, and we're going to break them down because business is simple. It's really hard, but it is simple, and we want to simplify the process for you. That's what allows, he and I, we have 6 kids under the age of 10, not together, obviously, but with our wives. And Daniel's been married about 10 or 11 years. His kids are a little bit older, but we make a lot of time for our families because we have simplified the business aspect here, and we're able to co-author a book and do our events because we have the systems down, and we want to share that with you. And if you take a look at Mary Therese here, she's in financial services. She joined our coaching program in 2021. She was a solo operator doing 210K per year, almost doubled it in her first year of coaching, had good growth to 475 in 2023, good growth again, and then had an absolute breakout monster year this year. She went from 600, nearly doubled her business to $1.1 million this year. She has an amazing team. She takes more vacations. She has more time to go to cheerleading for her daughter and all of her son's football games. She has her priorities straight. She is just, she's in really, really great shape too. She's just really dialed in. And it's just from the basics, the blocking and tackling that we're going to talk about today to simplify your business while helping it grow. So again, I'm Craig Ballantyne. Daniel Woodrum is going to join us here in one of the P parts, and we are the co-authors of The Dark Side of Discipline. He's the head coach here at Early to Rise. So what you're going to do today is you're going to walk away from this training with some really, really great information. You're going to walk away from this training with 6 ways to dramatically get more done, including 3 that you've never heard me talk about before. But these have come up over the last year of coaching our clients. It's like, oh man, they're high performers. They've gone through every Craig Ballantyne course. They've done everything, but there's still another level. And they helped us find a couple of other things. We're going to show you the 4 fastest ways to generate more money today for free, no ad spend required. I sold my first product online on January 28th, 2001. I still have it documented in a spreadsheet that I've been keeping about my finances for over 25 years. And since that day of selling that, I sold a Word document through PayPal. I have sent probably 15 to 25,000 emails to my list. I have done lots of product launches. We've spent millions of dollars in Facebook ads, and I know what works. And it's the principles that have stayed with us time and time again. So we're going to show you that stuff. Today, we're going to give you 4 questions to 10x your team. This is where the real growth happens, right? You can go pretty far as a one-person shop. Like Mary Therese got to about $500,000 as a one-person shop, and then she started getting people, and now her business is doubling even at the highest level. And so Daniel's going to take you through these 4 questions to 10x your team, and this is where the real growth happens because you can't work. If you're working 60 hours a week, you can't work 120 hours a week. You can't work 180 hours a week. There's not even 180 hours in the week. So how are you going to triple your business if you're already working 60 hours a week? Well, the answer is leveraging people, attracting great people, hiring great people, onboarding great people in a great way, and building great culture. And that's what we're going to show you how to do today. And then finally, the secret ingredient. It's inside of you, the secret ingredient to success. So we're going to cover all of that today. Here's Daniel and I. Look at that. Look at that hair on Craig Ballantyne. Look at those glasses. That's before I got my laser eye surgery and before I got my first hair transplant, because obviously I had lots of hair back then. And there's Daniel, a young man. He must have been like 25 years old. That was when we first met in San Diego at one of my fitness seminars from my original business. And Daniel and I started Fit Body Boot Camps together in 2013. We owned a couple of gyms at one time together, and he ran them down in South Carolina. And that's where he became a great leader because he got forged in the fire. We've had everything bad happen to us in our fitness businesses, team members leaving and taking clients and, the air conditioning breaking down in the summertime in South Carolina and all these emergencies. But Daniel just got better and better as a leader, and he forged these systems that we teach people today. And now fast forward to 2025, and we are working together to help you. So the reason why I know what these problems are is because we talk to thousands of entrepreneurs every year. So we run these Facebook ads and we get inside your head with the right phrases: time management, systems, delegations, ADE formula, automate, delegate, eliminate, scale. We know the exact words that attract people because that's what you're thinking about all the time. Oh, I'm wearing all these hats, putting out all these fires. If that feels like you, well, you're in the right place because we run these ads, and that's the reason why we talk to so many people and we And because we talk to so many people, we end up having so many conversations over the year with entrepreneurs who are at 100,000, a million, 10 million, 50 million. I work with a coaching client who's currently at 150 million, but his business is about to go public and it's going to be $1 billion liquidation event. It's amazing. But he has the same problems at nearly $1 billion as somebody who has $1 million business. It's the people, it's getting stuff done, and it's the person themselves, the personal habits. And we hear about this stuff all the time. And one of the things I want to give you right now, writer downer number one. So I'm going to say this a lot as we go through this presentation. Writer downers. These are the things that you have to write down. They are the major takeaways from the training. And I want to give you results in advance right away. I want to kick it off with one of the most important things that you need to know about getting more sales and leads into your business. And that is enter the conversation in the prospect's mind. 7 most important words in marketing. Enter the conversation in the prospect's mind. Because when you can do that, you can create emails, you can create advertisements, you can create YouTube videos, you can create podcasts, LinkedIn posts that go viral, that speak directly to the end user. For example, we have a new client named Nuno up in New Jersey. He runs a $3.5 million CPA firm. He's a real estate investor. And I did the sales call with him because one of our teammates was off that day. And I don't usually do sales calls, but I did it with Nuno. And I was an order taker on the call. I didn't have to sell him at all because the ad spoke to him. He said, I need more systems. I need more time management. I need more techniques to get more out of the day. And we talked about a few little hinges that swing big doors in his life. And he was like, yeah, let's get going. And I'm like, you even want to know the cost of the program? Like, he didn't even care because we were talking his language. We were talking his language. And that's what you have to learn how to do in your business so that every email goes out. The person says on the other side, they're reading my mind. They're in my head. How do they know this is what I'm thinking? But when you know that, when you enter the conversation in the prospect's mind, you get more people to like your content. You get more people to raise their hand and say, tell me more about you. You get more people to respond to your ads or your emails or your social media posts and say, I don't even need to hear more. Sign me up. Where do I pay? That's what you need to do. So we do that through our Facebook ads. Our Facebook ads generate more conversations. The conversations we have with people, we write down the words we hear all the time, and then those circle back to the top to our content. So that's the formula that you have to get going with, because there was probably something in the emails that brought you here today. You're thinking about next year. You want to do the planning and preparation. You're thinking about scaling your business, but you're stuck. And the emails that we sent spoke to you. So the 4 biggest challenges in growing your business are pretty simple. Most of the time, what we hear from people is that they're wearing all the hats, which means you're doing too much stuff and you don't feel that you're productive in the business. You're the bottleneck because you haven't done the right work to get your people to take over some of the work. You run around with your hair on fire and you're putting out all the fires, which means your expenses are up and your profits are down, and we need to fix that. And then finally, you're working too much in the business and not on the business. Those are the words we hear time and time again. And that's what we're going to fix. How do we fix that? Productivity. And these are the systems that I'm about to share with you, the 6 things that will help you get more done. Profits. If you're struggling with leads, which is probably the most common outside of productivity problems, people saying, oh, I'm not getting enough done, I'm working too much. Feeling like you're not getting enough leads is the biggest thing that we hear. I'm going to show you how to do more of that today. Weak sales. Hey, listen, you work so hard to get those leads. You might be paying money on Facebook ads. You might be spending time making YouTube videos, and you work so hard for that. You're sacrificing something. You get these leads, so that's great, but then you don't convert them to sales. And if you have that leak in your bucket, it's going to make it hard for your business to succeed. And maybe your expenses are high, but your revenue's high or your revenue's down, and all of a sudden the profit's not there. So we need to make sure, one of the things that we do, and Daniel does this with our clients, is an expense audit to make sure that you are not spending too much money. Just some of the success stories we've had in our business this year is one of our clients, one of our coaches, Gavin, who's not on here, but he did the Millionaire Mindset training that you got bonus access to. He helped a client save $30,000. The client was about to spend money on a very expensive marketing program. And on a coaching call, Gavin worked with him. That's what we do in our coaching calls, is we work with you to do the implementation. And they built out a custom GPT and Chat GPT to do the marketing. And he saved $30,000 because he basically did all the marketing in one coaching call instead of hiring a big marketing firm to go out there and do it. And so these are the things that we do for our clients. It's not the sexy part, right? Everybody wants, I want to take my business from $1 million to $2 million. Everybody looks at that. But what we can do is help keep your expenses down or remove the expenses that you're doing right now so that you're not wasting money on things that are not bringing you return, and you can keep more money without making more money. And that's another thing to think about. Also, the people. This is a big one. Daniel's going to cover. Right now, you have A players who are acting as B players because they don't have great leadership. And that's on you. We're going to help you become a better leader so that you take your A players and keep them A players and make them A plus players, and don't let them fall down to B player category. And don't let your B players become C's, because then they see you later. And that's the thing that you just don't want to let happen, because people are hard to find these days. Good people are hard to find. They're not impossible to find. We help people find great team members in every industry. They are out there. But you can't just think, oh, I'm going to put a thing up on Indeed, get 3 resumes, and from those 3, I'm going to choose a person and they're going to be great. That's definitely not how it works. That's not how you go and find your husband or your wife. I'll get 3 matches on Match.com, and I guess I'll just pick the best one. No, that's not how it works. No, and that's not how it works when you're looking for team members either. They are hard to find, they're hard to keep, and they're hard to inspire, but there are systems for doing this. It's hard, but it's simple. And so Daniel's going to show you that today. Also, the 4th P is, listen, you can have good people. You can have profitable systems, and your team can be productive. But if your personal habits, like binge watching Netflix or drinking too much alcohol, especially at this time of the year, it's very challenging. We had a coaching client who knows he should quit alcohol, and he went to a Christmas party. He had a couple of beers, and all of a sudden the shots came out, and he sent us a message on Sunday morning to his coach and said, I'm embarrassed by what happened. I'm never letting that happen again. And trust me, I've been there as a binge drinker. A lot of regretful mornings, wasted nights, wasted days, loss of self-confidence. And if you have any of that aspect where you're letting your bad habits pull you down, then how can we expect our business to be in the place that it needs to be if we are the weakest link? So we're going to talk about that today. So I just want to say one more thing, is that these 4 Ps, they work in real businesses. Not just people selling courses or, affiliate marketing, which are also real businesses. But these clients that we have, we work with grass-fed beef operators. We work with lots of actually farming businesses. We work with financial services. We work in the construction industry. We work in gyms. We work with chiropractors. We work with doctors. We work with real estate agents. We work with real estate investors. We work with real businesses. And these are real systems working for real people. Parents, not just the single digital nomad. I was once a single digital nomad. I know what it's like to have no dependence, to be able to work anywhere, anytime. That's not a real business. A real business is when you're a real person who's got a real team, and you need real systems because you got to get home real on time because you have kids that you want to spend your time with, or you want to take care of your health. So these things work, and they work real fast. Just a couple of testimonials I want to share with you. Here's a guy named Viv Kananthan. So he's business partners with Dan Martell. So this is like the coolest story. Dan Martell's business partners join our coaching to scale their business. Listen to that again. Dan Martell's business partner joined our coaching program to scale his business. And he hit $1 million in his annual run rate already because he joined our coaching program. And then on the right side here is one of our coaching clients who had their first 100K month. And she says it's really cool that it feels natural, and of course that she hit this. So Viv has a couple of kids. This person on the right has a couple of kids. They make time for their business and for their family. Then another one here, this is a guy who runs an ad agency on the left. I scribbled out, he didn't want this to be shared. He didn't want his clients knowing his numbers. And so, he started coaching with us at $40K per month, and 18 months later, he's doing $147K per month. And now he's at $190K per month. So it took him about a year to go from 150 to 190, but that's still pretty darn good. And then we have Eric Bach on the side here. Listen, money's great, but look at what Eric, he finished his workday done by 10 a.m. and then spent the day at the beach pool for his daughter's 5th birthday. That's the freedom that we want for our clients. So let's get into it. The 4 Ps, the productivity, we're going to start there. We're going to show you how to maximize output with systems that free your time. The people, we're going to help you build a world-class team that executes without you. Daniel is part of my team. He's a leader of our coaching team, and our coaching team operates almost entirely without me because they've just taken all the systems and then they've taken their zone of genius and become even better and made our coaching program better. On the personal side, we're going to help you become a high performance machine and stop things from dragging you down. Writer downer. On the personal side, if you want to be a high performer, you might be thinking, oh, I got to go and start doing saunas and cold plunges and drinking green juices and all that things. And January 1st coming up and you're like going to do that. And I'm going to go here in Vancouver and I'm going to run into the ocean on January 1st. Just for laughs. I don't think it's going to do anything for me, but my wife thinks it's funny when I do this. And so I'm going to do that. But that's not, by adding that to my life, I'm not going to become a high performer. How am I going to become more of a high performer? By removing the negative things that drag me down. I became a high performer by removing myself from toxic places, toxic people, and toxic habits like drinking. Removal, success through subtraction is what I did. All right, and then profits. Drive revenue with proven systems. So that's what we're going to share with you today. One last testimonial I want to share is that years ago, I showed Russell Brunson what to do. This is like, look at his podcast that he made about this is over almost 10 years old, right? 5 a.m. is funnel time. It was published April 26th, 2016. And look at that. This is Russell's marketing in a car podcast. He said, how I shifted my morning based on the book, The Perfect Day. And so if you listen to this, you can go to Spotify and find this and listen to it. It's a 12-minute testimonial from Russell on how he now gets an 8-hour workday done in just 2 hours. And you can get this done too. So let's talk about 6 productivity game changers. The first one is a ruthless time audit. Ruthless time audit. So we teach you how to do the time journal. You write down everything that you're doing every 15 to 20 minutes over the course of the day. And then we look to automate, delegate, and eliminate. So what I would recommend that you do is take a piece of paper. This is a writer downer here. Take a piece of paper, put 4 columns, the time in the first column, and then a big A, a big D, and a big E above the other columns. So you have 4 columns, time, A, D, and E. And over the course of the day, you set a little alarm that goes off every 20 minutes and you look at what you're doing and you go, can this be automated? Is there an AI automation out there? And our coach, Golel, is like, we're going to do the AI training tomorrow, same time, same place. Might be a different Zoom link, but Golel is going to walk you through how to use AI in 2026 and not get left behind, because that is super important. And a lot of the things that you're doing can be put in that automation with AI or automation with softwares, automation with email softwares. So is the thing that you're doing, can it be automated? That's going to claw back your time. D, delegation. Are you doing somebody else's job? Have you hired somebody who's sitting around going, man, I don't really have that much to do today because, the leader of our company is actually doing my job for me. You can't let that happen, right? You have to be ruthless with your time. You have to learn how to delegate, and you have to look at what you're doing and say, should this be delegated? It might be delegated to somebody that already works for you, or you might have to go and hire somebody. There's all types of services that we can introduce you to. Find somebody who can do a couple of hours work and take it off your plate. And then finally, elimination. Am I doing something right now that nobody should be doing? And a lot of times we're doing, and our team are doing things that nobody should be doing. And this is because we say yes to too many things. For example, years ago, I said yes to everybody's podcast. And I was on a podcast with a guy who was doing a podcast, I swear, in his mom's basement in the broom closet and had about 3 listeners. And I'm like, after I did that, I was like, oh my goodness, I just spent an hour on a podcast. I spent about 20 minutes getting ready for the podcast before, and about 15 minutes after, moving my mic and getting back into my work. So I just wasted almost 2 hours for 3 people who probably wouldn't even listen to the show. Think of all the other things I could have done. So I had to eliminate doing podcasts for everybody. And that way I was able to be more productive through elimination. So ruthless time management. One of the things that Daniel has brought into our company and into the coaching clients in our company is we actually have meeting-free Mondays. So we do not do our meetings on Mondays. It allows everybody to come in Monday fired up to work on the projects that they know they have to work on. And oftentimes we get a little pushback. Well, hey, what do they, the team needs to know what they're going to do. Like, everybody knows what they need to do in most cases. They got lots of stuff on their plate. We don't need to have meetings on Monday. We're going to open that up. And so many of our clients love that because their team becomes more productive from that one simple change. The ADE formula, automation, delegation, elimination, you end up getting 120 hours of work done in 40 hours thanks to all the tools that are available. Next is the perfect week formula. What we talk about in the perfect week formula that many people get away from, it's batching and blocking tasks. So I have a coaching client, he runs a $12 million a year Amazon ad agency. So his clients come to him, he runs all the ads on Amazon for them. And I looked at his calendar and it was death by 1,000 cuts. And that's where a lot of us fail. is that we know that we should have a block of time of 2 hours or so to work on a major project. But then someone says, oh, can I get a couple of minutes with you on a call? And then, or you're checking your email, or you're like, oh, I'm going to go and do a quick podcast and then jump back in. Death by 1,000 cuts. And so if you go back to the Perfect Week Formula book that hopefully everybody has, you look at the grid, the 7x7 grid, and it's a couple of hour blocks. Because I'll tell you this math is not going to make sense to you, but it's very important math. Better for you to have one single 3-hour block for a project every week than to have 4 days where you spend 1 hour on that project. That math doesn't make sense. Better for me to have a 3-hour work block than 4 days where I work an hour, which is 4 hours? Absolutely. You will get 3 to 5 times more done in a 3-hour work block than you will in an hour 4 days per week on the same project, because it is death by 1,000 cuts. When you have that hour, you're like, okay, well, before I get started, I'm going to go get a coffee and, I check my email one more time. 10 minutes is gone. It takes 5 minutes to get into it. You do about 15 minutes of work. You might get distracted. Maybe you get 35, 40 minutes of work done in that hour. But instead, if you have that 3-hour work block, you might waste 15 minutes on both ends, and you might take a 15-minute break in between. But you're going to get 2.5 strong hours of work in that 3-hour block. Whereas you'll only get an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of work if you spread it out over 4 hours. So batch the work, block the time and batch the work. The other thing that I'll say is, this is a new one, so you have to write this down too, because this is not in Perfect Week Formula. Because Perfect Week Formula stopped short. It should have been Perfect Month Formula. We need to plan our months, because here's the thing. There's a project that you need to do right now that's very important. It could be writing a major part of your book. It could be creating a sales letter. It could be creating a sales presentation. It could be recording a whole bunch of videos. And every Sunday you look at that thing and you go, oh man, I got a busy week. I don't have time to fit in a big work block on this major project. And so you do a little bit here and there and you get a little bit of progress. What you need to do is you need to look into the month in advance, because 3 weeks from now, it feels like you have an open calendar. Right? 3 weeks from now, it feels like you have an open calendar, but this week you have like 19 fires to put out. So where are you going to find time this week? You're not. But it feels a whole lot easier for you to say, in 3 weeks, on Tuesday morning, I'm going to block out some time. I just did this, because I want some more time with my wife. So I looked 3 weeks into advance and I said, I don't have anything on this day, this Thursday, in 3 weeks from now. So I'm going to take that entire day off. But when I tried to find time this week to have a good outing with her, I was like, oh, I got to work on this thing here. I promised, I'm doing these trainings. I got family in town. The kids are upstairs with grandma right now and they're playing. Oh, I want to spend time with my mom while she's here. So this week's, blitzed. But 3 weeks from now, I can take an entire day off because it's a whole lot easier because nothing's on the schedule. So you need, a big one for you to do as you go forward in the next year, is for you to look out 3 to 4 weeks in advance and block off 3 to 4 hours in a single day for a major project. And you will be able to triple your productivity that way. It's going to be a game changer. The other thing you need to make sure that you're doing is having that magic time protected. Magic time. This is a time of day where, through self-reflection and introspection, you have identified where you are 3 times more creative, productive, and energetic. Everybody's got this. It might be an hour to 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. There's a time of day where you are in the flow easier than any other time of day. And you need to protect this. And you need to do your hardest work inside the time of day when you have the greatest mental energy. I got a lot of kids. I got 3 kids under the age of 3, and they have those little toys where you take square peg and put it in square hole. Round peg, you put it in a round hole, right? Remember those things? Maybe you got kids or maybe you remember them. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Your magic time is the square peg. Your hardest task is the square hole. Well, it's the other way around. Your hardest task is the square peg. Your magic time is the square hole. You put that in. Unfortunately, what most people do is they have their magic time, the square hole. They take email, the round peg, and try and jam it in there. And they don't match up the hardest task with their greatest mental ability. And so they're doing their hardest task at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when they're tired from having lunch and they're wondering like, oh, why is this taking so long? Because you're trying to jam a round peg in a square hole. That's why. It's not going to work. And so if you simply identify your magic time, protect it from all the other distractions, and do your hardest work inside the time of day when you have the greatest creativity, energy, and productivity, you're going to get 2 to 3 times more work done. That's what Russell did. 5 a.m. was funnel time. He didn't have any distractions. The next thing you need to do is you need to have your profit power hour, where you GSD on MIT RGA. GSD on MIT RGA. People know what GSD is, get stuff done. They might know what MIT is, which is most important task, but they miss out on revenue generating activity. So you need to have an hour of day, which might be your magic time, where you get stuff done on your most important task of revenue generating activities. For example, if you have an email list of 5,000 people and you know that when you send emails out to your list, you make money, but you're too busy doing other things to send emails out to your list to make money, man, you're missing out on your opportunity for you to get stuff done in your most important task of revenue generating activities. So you need to make sure that you take advantage of that. So the first thing you have to do is identify, what are my revenue generating activities? Do you know those in your business? Have you analyzed where your sales are coming from, where your leads are coming from? You need to do more of what's working and less of what doesn't. And in this day and age, there's 9 different social medias now, it seems like. And soon all these AIs are going to have their own social medias, like ChatGPT is going to have a social media. And if you spend 10 minutes on each social media, you're going to kind of fail because you're not analyzing which one's working. But if you know that there's like LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, right? Those are the 5 major. You should know which one brings you the most leads. And that should get most of your time. Because if LinkedIn doesn't bring you leads and you're spending an hour a day on it, but most of your leads come from Facebook and you're only spending 45 minutes on it, how does that make any sense? But that's what most people do, because they're pressured by society or pressured by other people to feel like they have to be everywhere. But it's a waste of time. You should only be in the place where you're generating the most leads. Maximize that, milk it for all it's worth. And then when you've totally done everything you can on what's working, then you can move over to another service or another social media. But right now, your MIT RGA is Facebook. So let's make sure we're doing that, and make sure we're doing that early in the day. Win the morning, win the day. And then finally, HI AI integration. I'm all for using AI. I'm all for using AI right. But let's not miss out on HI, which is human interaction. So one of the things that we do is we run live events and we do one-on-one coaching. And yes, we use AI to make those things better. And we teach AI at our events. But right now, AI cannot replicate the human connection. Every single day, I make 5 introductions. Just before this call, I made an introduction between one of my clients who's an HR guru and one of my other clients who's a fractional CFO. They both have clients that they can refer one another. And they're going to do a lot of business referring to each other. And there's no way that AI could have done that. So there's a human interaction component. So right now, AI is good. It's going to get better. Right now, it's a long way from replacing human interaction and human touch and human connection. So we need to make sure that we're maximizing both sides of the equation. And if you do that, you will really crush it in 2026, which is why we're going to have a training tomorrow. And Galel, our coach from our team who's just obsessed with AI, is going to show you. Now, Galel coaches Bob Ferguson. Bob is another one of our amazing clients. Bob came to us. He was doing 2.5 million. The thing is, that red line could go back all the way to 2015. So the business that Bob was in was doing $2.5 million for about 10 years in a row. He took over the business in 2022. So he bought the business. And he came to one of our events and he joined our coaching. And in the first year, he went from 2.5 million to $4 million. So if you think your business, maybe your business doing $1.5 million, you're like, there's no way I can double my business in a year or two. Look at what Bob is doing, right? Because a lot of people think once their business gets big, how do you double it in a year? It's possible. It's more than possible. So he went to 5.5 million the next year. So he has some nice growth, right? That's 25, 30% growth a year at that level. That's a lot. But look at what, the 7.7 is actually 9.9. So I made this graph a couple of months ago, actually, and I haven't updated the graph. He recently told us he's at 9.9 million for 2025. So he went in 2024, he's nearly doubled a $5 million business in 12 months because he has put the right sales and marketing systems in place. So one of the things that we have our clients do is we have them rate their profit drivers on a scale of 1 to 10. Daniel and I, when we talk about in the dark side of discipline, we talk about putting a level 10 effort into your level 10 problem. And so if your leads, if you would, these are just random rankings, 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, right? If your leads, you're doing like a 3 out of 10 and you're really poorly performing at lead generation, that's a level 10 problem in your business. But if I looked at your calendar, I'd probably see that you're in meetings, you're checking your email, you're on social media, you're doing all this stuff that's not addressing the main problem. So first we do an audit of your profit systems. How are you doing at lead gen? How are you doing at sales? And how are you doing at reducing your expenses? Where is the biggest problem in your business? And then we put a level 10 effort into bursting that bottleneck, right? Because that's where most people are stuck. They have a bottleneck in their business. Maybe they can generate leads, but they can't close sales. Maybe they can't generate the leads. Or maybe they can do the leads and the sales, but my goodness, they're spending a lot of money and so there's no profit. So we look at where the bottleneck is and we make sure that we address that immediately. So a lot of this is analysis and self-reflection, both personally and on the business side. And it's hard for you to do that with inside eyes when you're so close. You know, the old phrase, you can't see the forest because of the trees. That's why coaches are so important. We have outside eyes. And most important, here's a writer downer. This is great for leading. I'm getting a little bit into Daniel's people section here. This is great for parenting. This is great for any type of relationship in life, right? We all know people who have an emotional attachment to a problem. And in business, it's often this. It's often we have a team member who's underperforming, but we've known them for a long time. And it's like, oh man, you know, they're a nice person. You know, I don't want to fire them. It's fine. That's emotional attachment. What a coach does is comes along and says, hey, with our outside eyes, and I have no emotional attachment, this person is dragging down your business. How much longer are you willing to work 60-hour weeks and make less money than them, even though you're the owner of the business and they're a team member, an employee? They make more money than you. You work twice as many hours than you because they're underperforming. How much longer are you willing to let that go on? It's the same as everybody's got a friend who's in a relationship that's just ugly, right? And he's like, how much longer are you going to be with this person who treats you poorly, who, you know, it's going nowhere? And we don't have an emotional attachment, but they have an emotional attachment to the situation, right? But that's what coaching is. It's helping you see where you have an emotional attachment, a blind spot in your business, and fixing it. Now, I do want to shift to the 4 easiest money methods in business. So you're going to want, this is like writer downer 1, 2, 3, 4. Email marketing. Your list is your gold mine. So if you have an email list, and I hear this all the time. So, you know, we're working with somebody who's an HVAC company. How to call with them. Okay, great. How big's your email list? 7,000 people. 7,000 people. How'd you get that email list? Oh, well, we do marketing. We do Google ads. And so they're people that have, you know, given us their contact information, past clients, past customers. Okay, great. 7,000 people. That's awesome. And how often do you email them? About once a month. And my head explodes, right? Once a month. These people have given you permission to send information about your business and you message them once per month. Do you understand how much money you are leaving on the table? You're on our email list. You know how many times we send an email? We send 7 emails a week sometimes. For my 50th birthday promo, if you're on the list back in May, we must have sent 14 emails in 7 days. But we got a lot of people to take action. And if somebody unsubscribed, it's okay because they'll either be back or they were never for me. You cannot take an email list to the bank. So don't protect your email list and say, oh, I don't want to email them because I don't want them to unsubscribe. You can't walk into the bank and say, hey, here's my email list. They're going to go, I don't want it. So we can't loan this out. But what you can do is you can send value to your email list daily. And when you have something to sell them, you could say, oh, and by the way, click on this link and go buy this thing. My friends see that I've launched a lot of books and they go, I want to sell a lot of books too. I go, great. How big's your email list? And they say like 500 people. I go, nah, you don't even bother writing a book because the only way to really sell books is send an email with a link to Amazon. It kind of sort of works if you're willing to do 1,000 podcasts, which is about 3,000 hours of your time. And you might be able to get enough people to hear about your book and go buy it. But if you can't send an email to your list with a link inside of it, that's the most efficient way for you to promote a book. It's the most efficient way to get somebody to your website and buy your Black Friday sale. Otherwise, like on social media, if you drop a link on LinkedIn, they don't send your post out because that means you're sending them off LinkedIn. Hey, go check out my website. 3 people will see your post. If you do that in Instagram in your stories, 3 people will see your stories. Go to my website. No. Instagram's like, I'm not posting that. Their algorithm will not share it with your audience, even if you have 100,000 followers. And so what you have to do is you have to get people to your email list. So that's your gold mine. This, you can screenshot it, but also Linda's going to drop a Google link in the chat right now, I believe. We want to give you this. Here are some really, really valuable tips on what to do. You can use this information from Galel. He's going to talk about his email chat GPT tomorrow. He's going to show you, he's going to give you the link. He's going to show you how you can go and use email and write emails using his chat GPT, all this stuff. But this was written for somebody who's like, I don't know what to write. I have an email list. I haven't sent an email to them in a long time. And I believe Linda's going to put a Google document down below, or a Google link in the chat. Hopefully she's still on here, or we'll get this out to you after. But what we're going to have here is, did she get that in there? Okay, so it's easy email prompts is in the chat right now. And so this is, if you've got an email list that you haven't emailed in a long time, you take these prompts and you put them in chat GPT and you tell them a little bit about your business. And then maybe you have a lead magnet and you upload that, and ChatGPT will spit out 3 emails that you can send to your list to re-engage them. And then if you're like struggling, I don't know what to say in my emails, here's another prompt, the weekly newsletter ideas. So you'll go and copy and paste that, because as a writer, like, I don't understand the question of like, I don't know what to say in my emails, because I could write you 5 to 10 emails a day. I just don't have the time to do it. So email marketing is your gold mine. The next thing is your $1 million offer audit. So right now you're selling something and you got a price and people see a value. And so if your price is $1,000, but people only see $500 in value, you're going to have a hard time selling that. What we do in our coaching is I'll take a look at your offer and I'll show you how to increase the value of it. You know, there's components in your offer, your product. Like, for example, we have a client named Dr. John Tate. He runs a stem cell clinic, and his price for his stem cell treatments were way too cheap. And so we started saying, well, you also get this. And we showed him like there were 10 different things that he could add more value to in his offer, which allowed him to increase his price. And even though he increased his price, he increased his conversion, because the end user saw, at first they saw $5,000, but they felt they were getting $3,000 worth of value. Then we did the $1 million offer audit and we raised the price to $7,500, but it felt like they were getting $20,000 worth of value. And it was so easy for him to sell. And so most people just don't have the copywriting skills to do this, which is why we end up having to do it for our clients so much. The next thing is monster follow-up. One call, one email, one ad, one YouTube video is not going to sell 97% of people. And so you have to have systematic, persistent follow-up to turn the maybes into sales. This is a correct email sequence. This includes text messaging, outbound phone calling, whatever it is that's going to be a fit for your business. You just cannot quit. Some of my best clients that have been with me since 2019, it took me 9 months of follow-up to get them to join coaching. And people sometimes, they don't buy because, you know, something happened personally, or they're really busy in their business, or there's a major fire in their business. You know, for example, Boris, one of my clients, who you'll hear about in a second, took 9 months for him to get to become a coaching client in 2019. He reached out and then he went dark, and then he got back to me and then he went dark again, because he was dealing with a major technology transition in his business. And I was frustrated throughout the period, but I stayed positive and just kept on adding value to him, following up, adding value, following up. He went dark, I'd follow up, get him back. And eventually he joined, and he's been with me for nearly 7 years, spending a lot of money, probably spent over $100,000 of coaching with me, because I was persistent in the monster follow-up. And then finally, the social story selling system. This works for email, this works for Instagram, this works for Facebook, this works for LinkedIn. This is a writer downer here. I'm going to go over it quick, but you need to, first of all, have a good subject line or title. It doesn't matter how good your content is. If you don't get people's attention to open the email or watch the YouTube video and click on it, if you have the greatest 12-minute YouTube video, it's full of amazing content, but your title is 12-minute video on how to sell things, well, nobody's going to open that, right? You got to have a much better title of it, or no one will watch the video. So you start with that. Then you do a little bit of personal storytelling to get people engaged at the start. Then you drop your value. Then you add social proof. And then you've earned the right to make the call to action. And you apply that through everything from email to Instagram to LinkedIn to YouTube. That is the social story selling system in a nutshell. If you don't have that, your marketing efforts will not be as effective as they can be. I'm going to take a break for right now. I'm going to give it over to Daniel. He's going to talk about how your team makes or breaks your scaling. I mentioned Boris. He was doing 1 million when he joined coaching with us in 2019, doubled it to 2020, and then his business took off. Sorry, he is doing 3 million in 2021, and his business had a breakout year when he started coaching with me in 2021. Went to $10.5 million. And Daniel has coached him along the way as his team has grown on leadership, because that is Daniel's expertise. And I'm going to jump this over to you, Daniel, and have you go through it.
All right. Thank you, Craig. Good to see everyone. A lot of familiar faces on here. It's good to see Lorraine and some other folks here that I've had the pleasure of working with. So yeah, Craig teed me up masterfully here in terms of, helping you guys, show you how to buy back time, how to generate more profits into your business. And now we're talking about my most exciting P here, which is people. And there's this debate of what's more important, process or people. And in my opinion, both are equally important. You can have the greatest process and systems in the world, but if you don't have great people following those processes and systems, they're not going to be effective and efficient. On the other side, you can have the greatest people in the world, but if you don't have process and systems, there's no roadmap on how they can ultimately get to your vision. And so I believe that people and process are two very important puzzle pieces. And when they come together, when they are aligned, it helps create a very beautiful outcome. Okay. So the truth here is that your team, your people, they're either multipliers or they're bottlenecks. And in the chat box here, it doesn't matter if you have one employee or one team member or 50 or somewhere in between. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least confident, 10 being the most confident, what is your current confidence level in your team? Just put in the chat box. Honest answer here. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least confident, 10 being the most confident. See, 3, 0, 6, 8, 6, 5. Okay, so appreciate the honesty here. And here's the thing, scaling is a team sport. Scaling is a team sport. Craig said earlier in the presentation that you can grind your way to a certain level of success, but ultimately you can only get so far. There's this capacity ceiling that you're gonna rub up against, you're gonna hit just doing it yourself. Okay? If you want to be able to elevate that capacity ceiling, right, and go to higher levels, scale to bigger levels, you've got to be able to have a team of all-stars or of what we call A players. Okay, because ultimately your business will never outgrow the capacity, the clarity, and the commitment of the people inside of it. Now, I want to go over today the 4 people pillars. What are the 4 people pillars? And the pillar number 1 is right people in the right seat. You've got to have the right people in the right seat. And I think this is probably the most important pillar of them all, because you can have a really great person, but if they're in the wrong seat, you're still going to have problems. You can have a great seat, meaning you can have a perfect position inside of your company. But if you have the wrong person in that great seat, you're probably going to have more than just problems. You might ultimately have a disaster. Okay, let me give you an example. We had a coaching client a while back, and this coaching client had a really rock star salesperson that was responsible for generating most of the revenue inside of the business. They also had an admin position. Well, unfortunately, the admin person that was filling that seat at the time decided to leave the company. They parted ways friendly, but they wanted a new opportunity. And so this coaching client of ours had reached out and said, "Hey, Daniel, I'm thinking about putting my rockstar salesperson into the admin seat for right now until I can find a full-time replacement." I said, I don't think it's a good idea. Okay, I don't think it's a good idea. I think you need to keep the salesperson in the right seats where they thrive at and find other ways to fill that gap in the admin role for now until we can find a full replacement. Well, these people paid us money, but unfortunately the client did not listen to the advice. And they still took the salesperson and put them in the admin seats. About a month later, they reached back out. Obviously, we had communication, but they reached out about that specifically and said, "Daniel, you were right." I said, "Can you say that again?" He said, "Daniel, you were right. I put the salesperson in the wrong seat." Okay. And the sales for that month dropped 40% with no other change in variable. And that was the perfect example of a great person, but in the wrong seat. Okay. So how do you identify how you have the right person in the right seats. Okay, and I'm going to give you 5 indicators that you have the right person in the right seat. Indicator number 1 is their main strengths matches the main responsibilities in their position. Their main strengths match the main responsibilities in their position. Okay, going back to the example I just gave you, okay, clearly that salesperson's strengths did not match the strengths of the responsibilities in that admin position. There was a mismatch. Okay, indicator number 2, they produce without handholding. You know you've got the right person in the right seat if they can produce without you having to hold their hand, constantly micromanage them, constantly have to course correct them. Okay. Indicator number 3, you've got the right person in the right seat, is they make your life easier, not harder. Okay. Have you ever hired someone or put someone in a position and you're like, I thought this was going to make things easier. It's made things way harder. Okay. You might have a person in the wrong seats. Okay. Indicator number 4 is they solve problems instead of creating them. Okay. Again, same thing. I have made the mistake before of in my gym days of putting a good person in the wrong seat, and it created more problems, not actually solve problems. So if you're experiencing that with one of your team members, they might be in the wrong seats. Okay. And then indicator number 5 is they own their seat like it's their business. They sit in that seat with pride, with confidence, dare I say, maybe even a little bit of cockiness, if you will, because they own that position. They own that seat. Okay. So this might be, Craig, talk about a writer downer. This might be a writer downer here. Okay. The question should not be, as you're evaluating your team, the question should not be, are they a good person? The actual question you need to ask is, are they great in this seat? Are they great in this current seat that they're sitting in? So pillar number 2 here is build a culture of high performance. I think a lot of times when we think about, a good work culture, a good work environment, we often think about, core values posted all over the wall and everyone's giving high fives, everyone's getting along, right? There's just a lot of cohesiveness with everyone. And don't get me wrong, like that is a part of a good team culture, okay? But I believe the 3 things that make a good high performance team culture is clarity. Everyone has clarity in their roles, in their expectations. There's clarity on what the overall vision of your company is from the top down. Okay. Number 2 is standards. Is there a high level of standards in your organization? Craig and I talk a lot about standards in our new book, The Dark Side Discipline. And then ultimately, accountability. Is there a high level of accountability inside your organization? Because even if you have a team of A players, of all-stars, even A players need accountability. Okay, so 5 ways that high performers actually require. So this is 5 things that you must have in place to have a culture of high performance inside your organization. Number 1 is crystal clear expectations. Okay, one of the first things that we do with any new coaching clients that join our coaching is we help them create A player agreements for every single position on the team. That way you have crystal clear expectations. Everyone knows, like, just if I was to fly into your organization, I was flying to where you're at, and the rest of the week I met with each of your team members and said, tell me right now, what are the 5 to 7 main responsibilities that you have on a daily basis, weekly basis, and monthly basis? All right, what is your current confidence level that they'd be able to tell me exactly what their expectations are? If it's anything below like a 9, okay, you need to work on this. And that's where the A player agreements come into play. Okay, clear metrics. Does each team member have clear metrics, KPIs that they are responsible for? And when I say clear metrics, it's got to be clear. Okay, so for example, let's say that you have a customer service representative on your team, and one of your metrics for them is reply back to customer emails as soon as possible. What does as soon as possible mean? Is that within 5 minutes? Is that within 2 hours, 24 hours, 1 week? What does that mean? It's not clear. So to create clear metrics, it needs to be must reply back to customer emails within 24 hours. Okay, that's very clear. That can be measured. You can hold people accountable on that. Okay, requirement number 3 for high performance inside your organization is weekly reporting cadence, some sort of reporting. Okay, one of the biggest things when it comes to micromanaging, and I'm sure there's a lot of people on here that still feel like they have to micromanage their team. Okay, and I think a lot of times it's our first thought is, well, gosh, if I have to require my team to send daily or weekly reports, like I feel like I'm micromanaging them. No, you're not. You have to micromanage when you don't have reporting because you're constantly having to ask them, hey, where's this project at? Where are you at with this status? Where's this client at in their client journey? Because there's no clear reporting. So when you have clear reporting cadences, you don't have to micromanage anymore because you've got a very good pulse on what's going on inside the organization. Number 4 is consistent coaching. Okay, yes, even A players need coaching, need development, need training. This is one of the things that I've learned a million things from Craig over the years, but Craig does a phenomenal job of always giving team members inside of his organization coaching, resources, training, development, okay, always helping us level up. And then the requirement number 5 for high performance culture is radical ownership, okay? You've got to foster a culture inside of your organization where everyone takes extreme ownership. There should be no finger pointing, okay? Everyone should point the finger at themselves and take extreme ownership, okay? Craig said here, when you raise your standards, when you raise the culture of high performance inside your organization, okay, A players continue to rise, B players either rise or they level off and become C players, and as Craig said, then it's see you later, all right? So number 3 here for the people pillar is spot mishires early. Now, I'm a big believer when it comes to interviewing and hiring, you want to create as many steps and friction points as possible to make sure that you make the right hire. But there's only so much that you can do in the hiring and interview process. You really don't fully know if someone is going to be a great fit for your organization, if they're the right person in the right seat, until you actually put them inside the organization and give them a chance. So there's only so much you can do. However, if you make a hire and you realize that it was a mishire, whether that's that they're not a good fit for your organization in general, or maybe they're just in the wrong seats, okay, you need to make changes very quickly. So here are a few things, and you guys can write these down, of how to spot if you've mishired someone as quickly as possible so you can course correct. Okay, if someone's making the same mistakes over and over again, might be a mishire. If they're constantly missing deadlines, very clear deadlines, might be a mishire. If there's a lot of ups and downs emotionally, if they're not emotionally stable, you never know when you talk to them on a meeting or a call, they come in the office, you never know exactly how they're going to be, what their energy levels are going to be like. Okay, might be a mishire. If they make excuses instead of taking ownership, might be a mishire. Okay, if you start avoiding them, and I've done this. Have you ever hired somebody, realize they're not a good fit, and you'll do everything possible to avoid having to deal with them? Okay, probably a mishire. And then lastly, and this is the most damaging on them all, if you have other team members starting to complain about that individual, it might be a mishire. Okay, because every day, every week, God forbid, every month you keep a mishire, your business is like paying this silent tax. And that silent tax continues to compound and compound and compound. And you know what? If you don't let that person go, other people are going to leave because of that bad apple. Okay, then pillar number 4 is attracting A players. Attracting A players. Okay, so how do you attract A players? How do you attract all-stars onto your team? And real quick, let me say this because this is where my opinion differs from some people. And I've heard some smart people that I really respect from a leadership position say, hey, like you can only have a certain amount of level. You can only have a certain amount of A players on your team. Like it's okay to have B and C players and so in your organization. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you should have A players across the board. Now, every position might look different. For example, if you've got a general manager or if you've got a sales manager, that A player position is probably going to carry more weight, have more impact than a VA position or a customer service rep position. Okay. But that doesn't mean that you still can't have A players. You can have an A player still fulfill a VA role. So I believe you should strive to have A players across the board. So how do you attract A players naturally? Have clear roles and scorecards. Again, A players want clear expectations. They want clear metrics. They want to know exactly what they need to do, what they need to hit, what that definition of success is in their position. Okay, lead with standards. A players love standards. Okay, remove drama. A players do not like drama. You need to remove as much drama as possible inside your organization, because if you have drama, A players will leave. Okay, communicate directly and calmly. For most A players, you don't need a beater on the bush. Just tell them exactly what you want. Tell them exactly the feedback that you need to provide them, and they're going to respond to that better than beating around the bush. Okay, and then again, coach them, empower them, train them. They want that level of development. And then again, give them ownership. Don't just delegate tasks, delegate responsibility, delegate ownership. All right, and then the last part here of the people section is the critical team evaluation questions. Okay, so question number 1, where is there tension in your team? Where is there tension in your team? Tension is not random. Tension is feedback. Feedback is a good thing. So if you find that there's tension in your team, whether it is tension in a department, whether it's tension with one individual, okay, you need to directly go to them. You need to lean into what we call the level 10 difficult conversation. You need to address it immediately. Don't run away from it. Don't hope it goes away because it's not going to go away. It's only going to continue to get worse and worse. Okay, question number 2 here is, who is disrupting the group? Right? One bad apple, one wrong person can sink a culture faster than anything else. I played competitive baseball through high school, and my sophomore year, we had a really, really good player on our baseball team. But this guy's attitude was terrible. Okay, it was terrible attitude. He didn't listen to coach. He wasn't a team player. Okay, he wouldn't practice hard. He was talented, but he was a bad apple. Okay, halfway through the season, we were 5 games below 500, which is not good. The coach finally made the decision to kick the kid off the team. The last 15 games of the season, we went 10-5. Okay, nothing else changed. We didn't get better. We just got rid of the bad apple, someone that was disrupting the group. Question number 3. I love this question. Would you enthusiastically rehire that person today? Knowing what you know about this person and this position that they're in right now, would you enthusiastically rehire them? And it's either got to be a heck yeah or a heck no. It should either be a heck yeah or a heck no. Okay, if it's a heck yeah.
One thing that's really important here, Daniel, is people love to say, well, maybe. No, this is a yes or no question.
Yes.
A heck yes or a heck no question. There's no gray area.
Yep.
And if you have a no here, man, Daniel's the person to help you.
Yes. If it's to Craig's point there, if it's a heck yes, double down on developing them. Right? You've got the right person in the right seat. If it's a maybe, I'm not saying that you immediately fire them right away, but you better clarify expectations. You better retrain them. You better figure out, hey, is it just because they're in the wrong seats? Okay. And if it's a heck no, you've got to immediately begin the offboarding process. Okay. And let them go. All right. Now, here's the 4th question. This adds on to the would you enthusiastically rehire the person? After that, it's got to be, is it a skill or commitment issue? So if it is a maybe or if it's a heck no, why is that? Is it a skill or is it a commitment issue? A skill issue can be developed. Okay, maybe they need more time. Maybe they need more resources. Maybe you did a poor job, which happens, on onboarding them properly. And so you need to go back, or your team member needs to go back and properly onboard them and retrain them. Now, if it's a commitment issue, that cannot be changed. Now, I will give you one caveat because everything needs context. I'm not a big fan of like absolutes. When Craig and I had our gyms, we had a coach. This was several years ago. We had a coach. I had him for a year. Amazing coach. But there was a time period where I noticed he's not as energetic. He's shown up a couple minutes late. Like this is not the person I hired. I don't know what's going on. So I ended up sitting down with him and having a conversation, just asking, is everything okay? Like, you don't seem like you're yourself lately. And he finally opened up to me and said that he was going through a pretty serious personal family issue. Okay. And so I realized at that time, like, okay, so it's not a skill set issue. It is a commitment issue, but there's context to it. So I simply told this gentleman, I said, listen, we have two options here. I said, if you need to take some time away, I totally understand that, respect that. You can take time away, deal with what you need to deal with, and then we can always reconvene and see what makes sense moving forward. I said, or if you want to stay in this position, I've got to have you meet the standards, right? Like when you open that door to the gym, you've got to leave all the personal stuff outside and you've got to show up at your absolute best. And he committed to doing that. And he showed up. And then 6 weeks later, things started to resolve on the personal side of things. And it felt like we had the coach back to normal. But 99% of the time, if it is a commitment issue, you can't fix that. Okay. And that's going to require you to let them go. And one last thing here, guys, it's never easy to fire someone. It's never easy to let someone go. However, here's the thing to remember. 30 days from now, both sides will be in better places. You'll be in a better place because you were able to put the right person in the right seat. And that person you let go, they'll be in a better position because they'll find another position, another company that they're a better fit for. And so at the end of the day, both sides are going to win. All right, and then the last thing here is upgrading one person per month. Now, we always like to say it's earlier, right? Success loves speed. Fully buy into that. We fully believe that. But at the end of the day, if you've got several team issues, as we go through this people section, you realize, like, man, I've got a lot of work to do. You can't fix everything at one time. So let's think big, start small. Let's upgrade one person over the next month. You don't need to fix your entire team at one time. Okay, let's just upgrade one person this month of December here. Whether that's retraining someone, maybe you need to meet with someone to reset expectations, right? You can join our coaching and we'll help you build out A-player agreements and clear KPIs and scoreboards for them. Maybe you need to replace somebody. Maybe their energy's off. They're an energy vampire. They're not meeting the standards. Your culture is too much at risk by their poor performance and you need to replace them, okay? Or maybe you just need to reposition them. Maybe they're a great person, but they're in the wrong seats, okay? So you can either put them in a new seat, or maybe you just need to adjust the seat slightly and just make a few changes, and then they'll be able to perform like an A player that you know they are, okay? So at the end of the day, guys, if you can it's not easy, but if you can get the people piece right, everything else becomes easier. And then everything else will start to compound and you'll have a lot more success.
Awesome, Daniel. Thank you so much. That is why you do the leadership training with so many coaching clients of ours, because you are just the master of that. Really appreciate it. And, Daniel just dropped so much information there. If you guys want another leadership only presentation, you can let me know in the comments. We'll probably get one going. He's done our 5-star leadership system. And again, he works with so many teams and coaching clients who need to upgrade their people, because when you upgrade your people, you get that leverage. So now we're into the final P, which is personal. You have to become a high performance machine. Here's one of my most famous clients, Frank Den Blanken. He came to one of my events in Frankfurt, Germany that I did back in the day. And Frank was doing $100,000 a year, 10K per month, working 15 hours a day. He is a machine. He would work all the time, but he wasn't doing the right things. And so we built the 90-day plan for him. And all he did was he put the 90-day plan right beside him, which is what we do for all of our coaching clients. He built his 90-day plan, and we're going to build your 90-day plan on Thursday for free. And he put his 90-day plan on the wall, and every single day he sat down beside his computer and executed on it. And within 3 months, he was doing $100,000 a month. So he went from $10,000 a month to $100,000 a month. And then 3 months after that, he was doing $300,000 a month. And now he's probably doing $25 million a year because he owns all the Gold's gyms in Europe. And he is just an absolute beast. And everyone can become a beast like Frank and dominate and get stuff done. And he's got 2 kids and an amazing wife, and he travels so much, all because he scaled his productivity. So one of the things that we do with our clients, and one of the things that you need to do, is your time journal that we talked about before. It will tell you the truth about your priorities. If you say, I want to get rich in business, and we look at your time journal and it's fantasy football and it's Netflix and it's other bad habits, well, unfortunately, that's not going to get you to where you want to be, because what got you here won't get you there. What got you to this point in your life won't get you to the next point in life. And another one of my favorite quotes is, if you want something you've never had, you must do something you've never done. So if you're sitting there like I was in 2006 saying I wanted to scale my business and I didn't have a coach, that was when I hired my first coach and my business took off like Frank's. I had that same type of hockey stick result that Frank had when I hired my first coach. So the first thing we do is the life audit and the billionaire time matrix, which is clawing back your time. What's not your job? What do you hate doing? What should you stop doing? And what are your distractions? And we figure that out and we make you more productive. The next thing we do with our clients is we make sure that you have the millionaire mindset method. You have free access to the millionaire mindset method. When you joined this series of free trainings, you got sent a download page, a thank you page that had Gavin McHale, Coach Gavin McHale from our team, and his millionaire mindset training. It reprograms your limiting beliefs about money and success. He has a YouTube video called The Daily Wealth Attraction. I think I actually have a link for it, dailywealthattraction.com. I think that's the link. And it goes directly to the YouTube video. It's been watched about 50,000 times. So we have people watch it on repeat all the time. And they say, oh, all of a sudden, this money that I was waiting for showed up. He's the money magician. Your business will only grow as big as your mindset allows, and Gavin will fix that. So make sure you watch that free training that we gave you. You also need to make sure that you treat yourself as a pro athlete, the Pro Athlete Entrepreneur Program. I like to use this little story. Imagine you like basketball and you're going to see LeBron James. I think he plays for the Lakers now. And you go see LeBron James play and you paid like $500 for these tickets. You took your kid and it was like going to be this great day. But LeBron got in a fight with his wife yesterday. And maybe he didn't sleep very well because he's been kind of cheap on his mattress. And, he wanted to watch a little extra Netflix last night, so he stayed up late. And he had a couple of drinks and he ate a big meal too close to bedtime. And you paid $500 for these tickets, and you go there and you expect LeBron James to play the best game of his life. You paid $500 to go watch a basketball game. And it's a great memory for your kids, sure, but you paid $500. And LeBron plays horrible because he had no personal optimization systems. How would you feel? But that's what nearly every entrepreneur does in their own business. They want to get rich, but they have these bad habits. They don't treat themselves like a pro athlete. What LeBron James does, if you know anything about LeBron James, he's like Tom Brady, right? LeBron James is in his late 30s and he's playing great. Tom Brady played in the NFL as a quarterback past 40. Because they put in like an 8 or 12 hour day on themselves. They treated themselves like pro athletes because they are pro athletes. But if you have 19 Zooms in a row and you're not eating and drinking properly and you're not sleeping properly, you're not treating yourself like a pro athlete, you're not going to get pro athlete results. You're not going to have 10x focus and productivity. And so, there's a lot of other programs out there that address meetings and people and marketing, and you can, work on your funnels. But if you're not working on yourself and getting yourself optimized, your business can only go as far as your mindset and your physical abilities and your energy levels. And that has to change. And then finally, when it comes to the personal side of things, the inside ingredient that is the secret to success, the missing link is accountability. Somebody in the chat actually asked me, Craig, has anybody joined your coaching program and failed? And the answer is yes. And the reason why is because they are not vulnerable and they do not let their ego, they set their ego aside. They don't set their ego aside. They let their ego get in the way and they say, I don't need any help. And they don't get accountability from us. And those people either struggle or they get okay results or they don't get results because they say, I don't need any help. My ego's in the way. And I don't want to check in with you. I don't want to be held accountable. And those are the only people that struggle in our program. But if you are willing to get accountability from us, and we don't just check in once a week, we check in daily with our clients. We do this micro coaching where there's daily accountability to following through and to keeping you on track. Most of the time, it's not keeping people following through and executing. It's picking you up when you're feeling down. Because if you live on Lonely Entrepreneur Island, where you're the only entrepreneur in your social circle or in your family, everybody's kind of middle-class habits are going to drag you down. Their lack of ambition. They're great people, but they don't have the ambition that you do. And that's going to drag you down. But if you're accountable to your coach who's going to hold you to the highest standards, that's the missing link that stopped you from having your best year ever last year. And it's the missing link that can help you have your best year ever going forward. Because what stops people? All the information that you need, everything that we've talked about here, we've probably made a free YouTube video on it. And if not us, somebody else has. All the information you need. Like people often join our coaching program and they say, oh, I need help with like Go High Level or this other CRM. And like, can you show me how to do this? I go, just go to YouTube and type in how to set up the CRM. There's 100,000 videos on how to set up a CRM. There's 100,000 videos on how to write an email. There's 100,000 videos on how to lead a meeting. The information is not the problem. The action and accountability and the mindset and the being in a tribe of people who support you, that's the missing link. And that's why, people like Bob, the business that he's doing, he has the same people in the business. He has the same business. They sell the same things, same environment, same economy. What's the difference? Bob changed. Bob changed. And so this guy takes about 6 to 10 vacations per year. If you know anything about Bob, he's obsessed with snakes. He has a 100,000 person Instagram where he just shows pictures of him holding snakes and spiders and all sorts of weird creatures. And he goes on 6 vacations per year, chasing snakes all around the world while building what was a $7.7 million business is now a $9.9 million business. All because he joined coaching and got the systems that he need to go to the next level. Mary Therese, look at what she's done. It's absolutely amazing. Going to the next level. So we have a special limited time offer. We have 3 coaching programs around the Ballantine method, which will help you scale your business. If you need to boost sales, master your time management, do everything that we talked about today, fix the 4 Ps in your business. This is for you. This is for serious entrepreneurs who want to have their best year ever in 2026. So what we want you to do, I know we're running out of time here. We over-delivered like usual. We always talk a lot and give a lot more information than most people. So that's why the training went long. But I want you to scan this QR code, or we should have it dropped in the chat, the link to book your call. But just take your phone up, hold it up to that QR code. It'll give you the link to book a call with our team. You'll have to fill out an application because we only work with people that have teams. We only work with people doing a certain level of revenue. But there's the link in the chat now to book your free call, or you can use the QR code. We want you to be our next Mary Therese, who's doubling your business from 500,000 to $1 million. We want you to be our next Bob Ferguson, who's going from 5.5 million to 10 million. I want you to be my next Frank Den Blanken or Boris. I love these guys. I love working with them. I learn from them. You're on the same level as us. We want to work with you. If you qualify and you have that energy and you have that attitude and you are willing to be accountable and you are just tired of not breaking through the ceiling. So click that link and book your call or scan that QR code. And we'll jump on a call and we'll show you exactly how we can scale your business in the next year. So this is training number 1 of 3. Tomorrow we are going to jump on and do our AI call and show you how to master AI and not get left behind in 2026. And then we have our big vision training session on Thursday. But if you want to be our next success story, which you need to be, remember, success loves speed. I'm wearing the t-shirt. And delay kills dreams. So scan that QR code, jump on a call with our team, and we look forward to seeing you as our next success story.